There's a lot of fun to be had with vintage digital cameras, and this Olympus C-750 is indeed loads of fun, a delight to use. Right at the very top of my list in terms of fun digital cameras. It's a charming little relic from a superior time to be alive, 2003. Granted, that's just the sort of thing a cranky old person would say. Just so happens to be true this time. But who knew technology was going to ruin everything, suck all the joy out of life? I used to love technology. Represented, I don't know, exciting possibilities. But I owned this camera when it first hit the market, when it was shiny and new. Thanks, Mom and Dad. It was my most prized possession. But I actually didn't think of it as a possession. I thought of it as a tool, an instrument of creativity. And what better gift can you give someone than a tool of creativity? You know? Remember creativity, that thing that technology is currently snuffing out? And I don't just mean AI image generation. I'm actually thinking of something more general and systemic. But boy, is that not helping matters. So then, am I ready to trade in all my modern camera gear in favor of this adorable old Olympus? No, absolutely not. So yes, admittedly, I'm kind of a fickle, flighty Luddite. I'm a Luddite light. But I come out to a place like this, ain't no algorithm controlling what I see out here, except for the one in my noggin. But, you know, if I hate technology so much, which I don't, that would be a gross oversimplification. Well, why don't I shoot film? Well, I do. But also, understand film is technology too. It actually does not sprout up out of the ground alongside the corn and the barley. I am digging this dance of light that's happening in the water. See if I can capture that in a photo. Nope. You know, this is actually extremely revealing and useful. With a camera like this, all you've got to make a compelling image is composition. And I think this is revealing that my composition is kinda weak. It's useful. I had a good feeling about what I was shooting, but looking at them now, I think they're all kind of mediocre. So there's a good lesson in there for me. And loathed as I may be to give advice, I do have one nugget that I think is valuable to share. And that's this: take your shot and move on. Need a second shot? Fine, but lower your camera, raise it again, and take a different composition. Ugh, I cut off the back leg. I blame the quality of the video feed. I don't think I could see in quite that much detail. But something attracted you to this, whatever it is, as a subject. And one shot becomes 2, becomes 5, becomes 40. Don't take 40 identical shots. Whatever that thing is that attracted you, that spark will be dead by frame 3. You'll end up with increasingly sterile, lifeless-looking images in the pursuit of perfection. And wouldn't it just be more exciting to get home and look at 40 very different images, as opposed to 40 versions of exactly the same image? And I'm not saying take no time to achieve a good composition. Do that, definitely do that. And take it and then move on. And if you immediately regret something, you realize your exposure was off or something was creeping into the frame you don't like, fine. Take another, no problem, but then seriously move on. I don't mean to raise my voice at you. This is what I say to myself. And I find it extremely useful. It may not make the shot you're currently taking better, though I suspect it will, but it will overall, in a general sense, your work as a whole, improve what you're getting. I mean, I can't promise that, but it certainly has proven to work that way for me. Because not only are you getting more different kinds of images while you're out shooting, but you're also getting more practice, and more trial and error is occurring. I was alternating between this old Olympus fixed, non-interchangeable lens point and shoot. Can I call it a point and shoot? It's not really a point and shoot. I'm shooting an aperture priority, setting my exposure based on a live histogram. And that's, I would say, a bit advanced for what I think of as a point and shoot. This camera can even do full manual exposure. I would actually prefer to be shooting full manual. The reason I'm not is because, well, the controls are a little clunky, but even more so in combination with the rig I've put together to capture video out of this thing. Every little exposure change would require some seriously awkward arm bends. Wait, what was I saying? I was heading toward a point a minute ago. Oh, whatever you call this type of camera. Trying not to refer to it by age or brand. But I was alternating between this and my mirrorless camera. Actually, that doesn't work, because this too is a mirrorless camera. Anyway, I was also alternating between this and my drone. And I felt like I got way better images on my mirrorless camera and way better images on my drone. And look for the drone stuff in a few days on my new drone channel, my solo drone channel. But the stuff I shot on my quasi-modern pro mirrorless camera, that also might end up in a video. Oh, and I completely forgot I was also shooting a classic DSLR this day. And I got very unexpected, interesting results with it too. Might make an interesting video as well. That's crazy. I had 4 cameras going. That was awfully ambitious of me. But I really thought the Olympus itself demanded to be its own thing. It's a shame that I'm not all that proud of what I got with it, because it sure is a pleasure to use. A lot of times when a specific camera ends up being an impediment to quality, I can identify that it's happening, but I'm usually unable to really spot the reason why. In this case, I think it comes down to one location. With all these trees, I'd say you really need a shallow depth of field to communicate what's further back, what's closer. This camera just flattens everything, which might be perfect for photographing stark, barren landscapes. And the drone doesn't suffer from that problem because at a great enough distance, the distance I'm shooting from on a drone, everything turns into a stark, barren landscape. The trees collectively become a blob of color, no longer individual things, for the most part. But the really, really real truth about why these images just aren't that amazing has a lot more to do with the photographer than it does with the camera, and that's fine. I'm not harmed by that, I'm not embarrassed by that. That's valuable instant feedback that your camera gives you. A while back I really wanted a 100 megapixel Fuji GFX 100S, but instead I got a 45 megapixel, much less expensive Canon R5. Mostly because of money, but not entirely. I realized that my work is not that special and what I'm photographing is not that important. It's just not good enough to warrant all that extra beautiful detail. That may sound very harsh to say to oneself, but I don't know, unless you're doing photography very leisurely, just for fun, which is absolutely fine. I prefer embracing reality, looking at what you're doing and being objective about it. Thinking that you're awesome might feel good, but if you have any artistic ambition at all, it will only harm you. You don't have to suffer for your art, says every lame, boring artist ever. Yeah, you kinda do, actually. You really kinda do. You don't have to just create from negative feelings, you can create from positive feelings. And on a completely unrelated topic, here's my new toothless, uninspired work. Just in case you were hoping to experience some indifference and apathy tonight. I guess I shouldn't talk. These photos are pretty toothless. The difference being, though, that I ain't happy with that shit. I want to do better. But you know, oddly, something about this specific camera does sort of put me in that mindset of let's just have a leisurely stroll and get what we get. It forces me to leave my artistic, pretentious rhetoric behind and just go experience a real moment. That's so valuable, to walk around outside yourself, your own baggage. Okay, I do see the value in that, absolutely. So I don't disagree with the other stuff I've said, but yeah, take a break. Do the other thing sometimes. Where I used to shoot a lot of 6x7 medium format film, where I would only get 10 exposures per roll. And the rolls were expensive, and developing was expensive, and scanning was time consuming. And I actually eventually started developing myself as well, because I couldn't deal with the cost. I was so aware every time I hit the shutter button how much this is going to cost me in time and money. That's a lot of pressure. Some people, though, respond well to pressure. Others don't. I'm somewhere in the middle, I'd say. Results may vary. Here's the third reason that I feel these images aren't that great. This one is firmly grounded in the lame excuse category. Lame but true. This adorable little ultra-portable silver camera becomes a bit awkward and clunky and heavy when I have it set up to capture video through the viewfinder, record the screen, however you want to phrase it. It's heavy. Everything gets kind of floppy over time. It naturally loosens as you move around. I got wires running to my pocket. I got stuff clipped to my shirt. I got things hanging in between. So when I make a decision to do a video this way, I do so knowing that the photography is going to suffer. And the star will be the charming nature of the old video quality. That kind of goes against a rule I have, but suppose occasionally I can break that rule. I'd actually like to do a photo walk with this camera without all that nonsense impeding me, see if I could do a better job. And the last time I did a photo walk with this camera, I did it in the winter, and somehow that winter vibe just worked better with the image characteristics of this camera. That's curious. I'm learning all kinds of interesting things, so next time, I'll get it right. Surely.